Final Fantasy 3 for the Super Famicom, 8,800 yen, or after the sales tax. Now, this is the hard off in Akihabara between the Surugaya Outlet and Mandarake Complex. They had a decent selection of Famicom games, if that's your thing. And during this little outing in Akihabara, there's definitely some of the prices are becoming competitive with what you might find out in the rural areas. Here we have Tetris Star. They had a few shooters in here. But the good old Famicom. And then we have Zoids. Look at this. And that's definitely a long-running series. I thought that was fairly new when I was living in the States, but lo and behold. But here we have Volgarde 2. I've seen that one in the loose form, but I'm not sure if it's a shooter. Here we have some Switch games. I'm still looking for the Neo Geo Pocket Color Selection Volume 1, but here we have SNK, what is this, Gal Girls, the Tag Team Frenzy? Now, this is kind of an interesting title. I believe the Neo Geo Pocket also had a release similar to that. And I believe that one's out of print, but $27.50 here for Street Fighter Zero 3 Upper, which that version, or not exactly that version, but one of the versions of Upper will be released in the Capcom Fighting Selection. But here we have Twisted Metal EX, 9,900 yen. Now, this is a certified bad boy. And I remember playing just like the vanilla version many, many years ago. I wonder what the EX version adds. Kind of interested in that title. But here we have a variety of hardware. And this is where I guess prices are definitely inflated. And because if you're looking for hardware, I would still definitely recommend getting outside of these areas. And you don't even have to go too far. But here we have the 360e version, 16,500 yen next to an Xbox One for the same price. And then we have a few PlayStation 5s with the all digital one there coming in at 66,000. I believe that was the Slim. Now the AV Famicom 37,400, yeah, that's definitely way too much. Occasionally I will see those at 10,000 yen. And then here we have the PC Engine Mini. I'm starting to become a little bit more interested in this, but 27,500 yen. And that one you can definitely find for 22, but that is one of the more expensive mini machines. But yeah, a lot of hardware here. And I actually did have a pickup downstairs in the junk section, and we'll definitely get to that. But here we have, what do we have? The PS1 LCD combo, 33,000. A little bit lower than what I saw previously, I believe at the Fukaya Hard Off in Saitama. And then the Switch Lite, man, I've been loving the Switch Lite. I'm super happy that I picked up that one in the junk section in Gyoda. A lot of PlayStation Vitas, but the average price was like 37,000. So that's definitely local. What else do we have here? Game Boy Color, 27,500 yen. Quite a few Game Boy Pockets. I was actually playing the Pocket earlier. I was playing some Contra. But here we have Dragon Quest. They had a whole bunch of Dragon Quest at this location. And then there's a King of Fighters Game Boy Advance Edition back there. And then Kiki Kai Kai for 129,800 yen. I believe that's the sequel on the old Super Famicom, which I haven't played to this day. But I believe that the Pocky and Rocky Reshrined throws in some of the new mechanics that were introduced in that game. And I think characters as well. Here's the little Pokemon Shrine. 27,500 yen there. My goodness. That stuff is gold, y'all. And what do we have here? Gold and silver, I think. But let's go downstairs doing the Biohazard Resident Evil walk down here. And I do like checking the junk section because occasionally they will have some pretty good deals. Here we have a hard drive for 880. And I believe this is just like the standard 20 gig. But if that's what you're after, this is definitely a good place to check. What else do we have here? We got the junk showcase. Now they had a 3DO one there. Here we have Xanadu, and then they also had Dragon Slayer for 5,500 yen. And what else do we have here? Some PS4 Pro there for 19,800 yen. But look at the 3DO, 39,600 yen. That's, I don't know, I think that's a little bit crazy because I have seen them boxed and they're far lower. So unless that one has some kind of modification, I don't know. But here we have some handhelds. Nothing too spectacular. But up above, this is what I picked up. This is the Personal 3D viewer. This is the T2 model. And after my hard off points, this thing was like 175 yen. And I did test it before I bought it, and that bad boy works. In fact, I was using it with the PS5, and it gives the equivalent of like the 72-inch screen. Here we have some Ren and Stimpy, 3 Twisted Tails, and now we are at Lashinbang. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, but this is another good location that has surprised me every now and then. And again, I'm just here's what is this? The Phantasm Soldier Valis. Now this is going to get another release that's going to incorporate all 3 volumes into one collection, which I feel that's what they probably should have done from the beginning. But I don't know, maybe there's a market for collectors of the Phantasm Soldier series. Here we're having some shaky cam issues, but what do we have here? Panzer Dragoon Orta, 22,800 yen. That's actually not a bad price. A great game, especially if you have a 1X or a Series X. And then Fairy Dust Story. Some kind of role-playing game. Not really familiar with that one. Fantasy Zone, 2,980 yen. I wonder how this port fares. But the PC Engine and it had quite a bit of role-playing games too, especially on the CD format. Nectaris, Bomberman there for 2280. So, and then we have this copy of Fighter's History Dynamite for 5,500 yen. Now, this copy there has been at this location for, I want to say, like at least 2 years. Here we have Call of Duty for the original Xbox for 4980. And that one's definitely a throwback. I remember playing that. I was playing it on the GameCube, I think. And look at this cover. So mysterious. 3,080 yen, but I think it's some kind of like Mahjong game or a game similar to that. Got a Capcom title here. And we'll just keep making our way. What is this? Twinbee? Look at that beautiful retro cover. 1,980 yen. And that one could be like just untested. And it's possible that it has an entirely different game on the disc. Now this showcase used to be a lot more full, but they kind of rearranged things. Here's another collection. This is volume 2 of the Phantasm Soldier, or Valis, as it's most commonly known. Oh, look at that. That's some nice figures. And then there's that Super Big Brother Choaniki Switch release. And then we have Super Adventure Island. How much was that bad boy? Like 10,000? And then Rez for the Dreamcast, 7780. I currently have, I sold my PS2 version, but I do have it on the PS5, PS4. And then we have the white Game Gear, 99,800 yen. And that one's been there for quite some time. And then we have some Neo Geo Pocket Colors, 17,800 yen for the one on the right. And then some MSX titles there, some loose cards. And then here we go, a 3DO, 24,800 yen in the box. And then there's even a mouse there for 4980. Above that is the Joy card. I think that's the thing that measures how fast you can tap. And it's in the box. And then here we have some kind of vinyl record, GMO Records, and it looks like it's a Famicom, a selection of Famicom. And then we have like, what, Super Mario Bros. There. And this is like volume 2. So that's definitely a collectible. And then, now this shooter, everywhere I see it, super expensive, 44,800 yen. And then we have Battletoads, and then look at these Rockman games. They're actually fairly inexpensive there. A lot of them are missing the manual or have damage to the box, but then we have Kid Dracula for 10,800 yen. Some Tiny Toons 2, Rockman 2, and then they had Athena. But look at these Rockman titles. 2,480 yen for Part 3, Part 5 coming in at 2,780. And 3980 for Part 4. That's actually not too bad, because you could always find the manual at another time. And I have seen these manuals like loose at Surugaya. That's definitely a good place to check. And what's that? Metal Storm, 44,800 yen next to Bucky O'Hare. Now those two titles have been at this location for as long as that Fighter's History game on the old Saturn. And then we have Toshinden. That's a great game on the Game Boy, as a matter of fact. And then we have an AES 118,000. Certified bad boy there. Next to another bad boy, Robo Aleste, 27,800 yen. I definitely want to pick up a copy of that. but that is a pricey one. And then Castle of Illusion, beautiful cover there. And I think this is like a traditional tabletop role-playing game here. What is it? Rogue Alliance. Pretty cool cover. Look at that. Yeah, I definitely like that. That high sword and sorcery. We got Scramble Formation for the MSX2. And we'll just keep it moving here. Now, this is at the Softmap. And they have quite a bit of Switch titles. Now, this is not going to be like the least expensive place, but they do have some competitive prices. And to my surprise, they've definitely expanded on their retro game selection, which we will get to here shortly. Unfortunately, they didn't have that Neo Geo Pocket Color selection, but I have a feeling that if they did have it, it would definitely be around that 10,000 mark. But 69.10 there for Dragon Quest 3. I'm kind of curious about this one. But I really don't have time for this role-playing game. I'm currently finishing up the Demon Souls remake on the PlayStation 5. Symphonic Rain. But quite a bit of titles for the old Switch. And this is just like all the new stuff. They also had another section of just all the used. I'm looking forward to a lot of these games getting discounts. And what do we have here? Oh, I highly recommend this. The Taito Milestones Volume 3. Especially for the Rastan games. And Episode 3 is so good. Way better than the PS2 version. But here we have the Sunsoft Volume 2 for PS1. I believe Volume 6 includes Gimmick. And I don't know how many volumes they had. I think they had like 5 maybe. Maybe it was Volume 5 that had Gimmick. But, and then... what do we have here? Parasite Eve 2. I have a digital version to that. But they had a bunch of sealed copies of Valkyria Revolution for 500 yen. And they also had Earth Defense Force Part 2 for the same price. But all these are sealed. Now, I was really debating about getting this Earth Defense Force 2 portable version 2. In hindsight, I should have picked it up because I do enjoy playing those every now and then on the PlayStation 2. But Valkyria Revolution, look at that. They have so many copies. That's crazy. And then Fallout 3 Game of the Year for the Xbox. A small selection of Xbox titles. Here we have Sunset Overdrive. This is the greatest hits version. Now, this one you can find for about $550, but, 880 yen, that's a good deal. Titanfall 2, I have that, but I haven't played it yet. And then we have Mass Effect. The Japanese version does not feature English language options. Here we have Skyrim. And then the House of the Dead 3 for 1,880 yen. Now, I believe this is... well, I think all the shops in Akihabara would save like a few, like Super Potato. Most of them are going to be tax-free. And then we have Fear 3. I have this on the old PlayStation 3. We have Gears of War. We got some Namco collection. Tekken 7 for 8,100 yen. But let's move into some of the retro stuff. 9,980 for a boxed PS1. Now, some of the prices here are a little bit scary, but some of them are a little bit more reasonable. Like 15,980 for that Famicom. No way. And then the N64 prices. What are these? PSPs. 7,480 with some of them coming in at 4,000. And these are going to be a variety of DS systems. With the one in the back, it's boxed, and we'll have a closer look at that one in a bit. But we got some Sega Dreamcast action. But, regardless of the price, a decent selection. Here we have the light gun for the Famicom, 8,880 yen. And that peripheral definitely saw like a price decrease. We got some PC Engine action, and then we got the arcade card for the Duo. And what do we have here? More PC Engine titles and Mega CD. And then we have less there, another version. And Shin Megami Tensei or Megami Tensei and Wolfchild. Look at that cover. I believe that one has like a lenticular cover. And then we have Croc for the Sega Saturn. Now, I did pick up a copy of Croc on this day, but I picked it up for the PS1. And that version was 1,000 yen. So definitely far lower than the Sega Saturn version. A couple of Castlevania DS games. And let's just keep making our way here. But yeah, here's Croc, 69.80. No Obi card. I remember picking up that game back in the day at a Toys R Us for like $20. Never did beat it. But we have Rockman X3 for 13,980 yen. Now, some of the prices for the loose cards are crazy. Look, 14,480 for Street Fighter 02. Now, a few episodes ago, I found it with just the box and the game, and it was only 2,750. We have Rockman X for 5,880. Again, a lot of these games can be found for like 1,000 yen in Akihabara itself. Well, actually, I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me on that one. But 19,980 for Contra, and that was the game that I was playing earlier. And that one's like a 2,000 or less type of game. Great game, by the way, that Contra. Here we have some Pokemon. 18,980. I don't know. That's crazy, y'all. Crazy. And then we have Punch-Out for 15,980. But at this location, I picked up, what did I pick up? It was one of the Ninja Gaiden games. Ninja Gaiden Yaiba. It was the limited edition, and it was sealed. And it was like 1,000 yen. 13,980 for that boxed Saturn, and then a whole bunch of loose cards. And then we got some more hardware here. 11,980 there for the Dreamcast. But if you're pressed for time, Akihabara is definitely an option. You can hit up Akihabara and then make your way to the Emperor's Palace. What do we have here? Cotton 100%. I believe that's like the reproduction. And we got some NFL 2K and 2K1 there. 710 for the bundle. That's some Mega Drive titles, but nothing really noteworthy. Now, this is some kind of like a simulation game, some locomotive type of game. And then we have Super Monaco GP. This is a pretty clean one. They had 2 copies there, with one coming in at 17,080. Maybe the one at 980 is missing the manual. And then Super League, I do like that cover. Reminds me of old Randy Johnson. And what do we have here? X-Men Children of the Atom, missing the booklet though. And then we have D's Diner for 710 yen. Great game, that one. Hopefully one day it gets like a proper 4K remaster along with the sequel. I'd be all over that. And then we have Funky Fantasy. Look at this. What the heck is this about? Looks like a strange one, but what do we have? Master of Monsters. I've seen this one before, but again, not really my cup of tea. And then we have some Tomb Raider 4, The Last Revelation. I don't think the Dreamcast version was so-so. I think it was kind of so-so. 980 there for a boxed memory card for the old 64. And then just a whole bunch of merch here. And we have Cloud on his old bike. Looks pretty wicked. All items on display are sold. Or not sold. But yeah, interesting. And then they also had Super Mario 3D Collection at 94.80. I got a copy of that. I want to leave it sealed. Make thousands off of it. But then we have a Burning Soldier for the 3DO. Kind of amazing to find 3DO games here. Here we have Ultraman Powered. I think this is some kind of like funky fighting game. And I don't know if it was a 3DO exclusive. It's possible it was also on either the Saturn or the PlayStation 1. They got some PlayStation 2, so they had a little bit of everything, honestly. But again, let's pull out a couple of games, some standard ones. 1480 there for SNK or Capcom vs SNK 2, and Eco coming in at 890. Again, if you look, you will find them for less. And here we have some PlayStation 5s. Now 66,980, that's after the sales tax. So you will see a little bit of a savings. 52,980 there for the all digital PlayStation 5 Fat. That doesn't seem too bad, I guess. And what is this? The PlayStation Portable or Portal? And a lot of controllers there. 12,980 there for some PSPs. And then the PS2 Slim 7380. And then more boxed Vitas coming in at 22,980, which, that's going to be in line with what you'll find out in the country. And then we have the Pulse Explorer for 24,980. I wonder how those little in-ear headphones are. But the PS4 Pro, I feel like that one went up in price because like last year when I was out in Mie, they were averaging like 10,000 yen. Console only, no hard drive, but you know, that's a pretty good deal. And then 14,980 for the Switch Lites, 33,980 for the OLED versions. And then down below the standard, what is that? About 20,000. They got the Series S for 41 and 43,000 and some change. Or you can get them boxed for about the same price. So a lot of hardware here. I do like this controller, Tears of the Kingdom, the Switch Pro controller. Now I'm sure, and I hope I'm right. I hope a lot of these controllers are compatible with the Switch 2, but the Switch 2 definitely gonna hold off on that. Especially with people are gonna get crazy over that. But here we have a 1X for 25,980, and it's the all-white version. Beautiful looking piece of hardware there. Absolutely stunning. What else do we have here? 34,980 for the Zelda 3DS XL version. And the good thing about this store is that, well, I don't know if it's good, but the stock is constantly in rotation. But look at this funky cover of Gex for 12,480, and then we have a Series X for 56,980. Which, you know, that's not a bad price. Considering, I think new, it's like upwards of 84,000. I'm not sure what the heck this is for the PlayStation Vita, but I do like that cover because it's so strange. 13,480. What the heck, man? And then Grand Knight's History. I remember importing this one because it had like a Vanillaware type of vibe. And I believe it does have like an English fan translation. But definitely an interesting one. And then we'll go back to some retro. We got Sky Destroyer. This is a pretty clean copy for 2280. I used to have this game, and it's actually not too bad, but a little bit, well, not a little bit, but definitely repetitive. But here we have Dragon Quest 3, 4,380. Highly revered title there. What else do we have? Afterburner for 4,080. Pretty common title, these. Or common titles for the old Famicom. And then we have Bebop High School. Look at this cover. 2,180 yen. And then we had a 64, they had a 64 boxed for 6,580. I'm sure that it's missing like a controller or something. And it's kind of a shame that they have the wire there because that's going to be messing up the box. But you can definitely feel free to pause there and take a look. It looks like it included the AC adapter in the body. I'm not sure what the heck that is, but that's for the 3DS. But all sorts of little knickknacks here. And this store is actually quite busy. People were shopping and filling up the carts. Both locals and tourists alike. But look at that. A lot of dual sands. Just a whole bunch of stuff just kind of bagged up and ready to go. And then down below, what do we have here? Some PlayStation 3, 2005. I don't know about that. Now this, I'm not sure what the heck this is, but that accessory looks pretty cool. Look at that. It has like a little camera. Some kind of beauty app. But here's like the DS Lite, 4,680. And it's the purple one. Now that's a pretty mean looking color. And now we're at Kanden, and look at this. This is the soft carry holder for the disc system. I haven't seen this thing before, but it's coming in at 3,000 yen. That's a certified bad boy too. And I wonder if it's like an official, like something that Nintendo proper released. And what else did he have here? We have some Klonoa Moonlight Museum, 14,980. And then we have Princess Card Gen. I don't know what the heck that is. He had like a bunch of like new release games, but here we have a PSP, and he also sells a bunch of mods for a lot of portables. We have Zero Gunner 2 there for 12,800. Another copy of Res for the Dreamcast for 13,000, and that one does have the Obi card. And then Sword Master, 15,800 yen. I definitely want a copy of this bad boy. Published by Athena. I'm not sure if they developed it, but they also published, I believe, Biometal for the Super Famicom. And they had a copy of Gaiaris there for 7,800 yen. And then here's like these modification things. Which one would you get? I think the one on the right. And then we have a Genesis 6-pack there for 4,800 yen. But that looks pretty clear, man. Pretty nice little kits here that he's selling. He also had a bunch of like vanilla screens for the PC Engine GT, and he was selling those for 800 yen. Because he also has like modification kits, and you know nobody really wants to go back to the OG screen. Although that's what I'm rocking on mine. We got some Biohazard 3 for 7,800, and then Gigawing for 5,800, and he also had a little Last Blade 2, and I don't know what the heck this is for the Mega Drive. Look at that, some Yakitori, man. And then the old Joy-Con for 2,800 next to a PC Engine. 5,980. That's not too bad. Little dirty, but we're gonna head down this little alleyway. And we're gonna head down. I'm not really sure what this other shop is, but he's been here for like about a year. And look at this Game Boy Advance that he had. Now this is just like a single like showcase, and then he has some few more things. If you ask him, you know, he'll bring out bags. I forget the gent's name, but I did have a pickup here. I picked up a Sword Saint for the Mega Drive. He had a pretty good price on it, and it was super clean. I think I paid 5,000. Yeah, I paid 5,000 yen for it. And then he had a 1S there for 12,800 yen. He had a copy of Gaiaris, whatever the heck it's called, 19,000. That also was released for the Nintendo Switch as a part of a collection, which is going to be far less expensive. But quite a few handhelds there. And I'm not sure what the heck this is, but that's kind of an interesting cover. 5,800 yen. And that's going to be for the old Game Boy by Sigma, or at least published by Sigma. And then just a variety of loose cards for the old DMG Game Boy. And then here across the way were a few figures. Now, I'm definitely out of the figure game. I'm not going to be buying any more. I don't have that many to begin with. Well, I think I don't have that many, but like these sort of the Berserk, man, it's so tempting. I mean, look at Guts there when he's firing the cannon. That's pretty sick, man. But look at the prices on those bad boys, man. But yeah, that's pretty gnarly. I do like seeing this type of stuff. Now down below, now this Guts coming in at 39,980. I do have that one. I remember getting it at launch, but this other one over here for the same price looks pretty cool. The Berserk armor. And then we got some Final Fantasy VII with the old school Cloud. But here, this is going to be the Gale World Mobile store. And they had a lot of PlayStation 5s. I remember these guys were stacked with PS5s during like the pandemic. But look at there, you can see the price there. 44,550 for the all digital version. They had some Mega Drives and then some Dreamcast. 6,600 there for the Sega Saturn. And a lot of this stuff, you know, you can test. They do have a testing station, and they do have a lot of cables and whatnot. 3,300 yen for the Famicom Mini. That's not too bad, y'all. But I have seen it for lower. What do we have here? We got some Switches. We got a green Game Boy DMG, 24,200 yen in the box. 6,600 yen there for the SP, which that's like their standard price. And then we have some more Xbox One S's for 16,500 yen. And then there's a pair of CD-ROM-ROMs. Most likely those are not going to be working. And then there's a Series X for 49,500 yen. Unfortunately, there looks like it was scratched. 11,000 there for the N64. Some Pulse headsets. But yeah, a pretty good variety. And then at the counter proper, they have a whole bunch of handheld systems here. Lately, I've been playing a lot of handheld too. DS, 3DS, they got all the chargers. And I think some of the pricing here is definitely going to be better than all the other shops, but they are classified as junk. And sometimes they do have like serious cosmetic issues. But here we have the Luffy One Piece and Final Fantasy 13, 14,000 for the One Piece. And then we got some more PS5s. Look at that. 1650 for the old PS1. But not bad at all. Although I definitely gotta stop buying hardware. It's time to unload some hardware to make room for more hardware, I guess. My goodness. But more Switch Pro controllers. I do enjoy the Switch Pro controller. And what do we have here? We got the PS4 Slime Edition next to this Fortnite Edition coming in at, or that's a PS5 coming in at 60,500 yen. But guys, just a little sampling of Akihabara. I'll definitely be making more videos. Not frequently of Akihabara, but definitely stay tuned for the next video. I'm planning to head out to Tochigi very, very soon. Ciao.